Okay. Okay. Trying to get to my record button if I can get to it. All right. I think now we got it. There's always technical difficulties whenever we get to getting the good information out to people, huh? All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's month of service presentation of Understanding Texas Voting Laws, Registration, and more. My name is Nia Murray. I am the Programs Coordinator with Neighborhood Recovery Community Development Corporation, and we are one of the partners in the A Month of Service collaboration. Also included, we have the City of Houston's Department of Neighborhoods, and joining us, we have Ms. Cecile Carlson. Also, on behalf of our presenting partner with the Harris County Tax Assessor Collector's Office, we have Ms. Pamela Thomas, who's going to be, along with today, our presenting guest with the Harris County Clerk's Office, who's going to be presenting the information to you today about voting, voter registration, the processes, and things of that nature. But also included in our partnership, we also have the Harris Central Appraisal District, Texas Legal Services Center, Houston Volunteer Lawyers, the Earl Carl Institute, and Lone Star Legal Aid. And together we all make up a month of service. And basically a month of service is the collaboration of all of our organizations coming together on a monthly basis and offering a variety of different workshops, resources, and information to the community relative to asset building, asset protection, the maintaining of generational wealth, and community empowerment. And we decided several years ago to come together and collaborated a lot of our and pulled a lot of our initiatives together so that we can create a larger impact, reach more people, and to get as much information out to the community as we possibly can. So unfortunately, we did have to switch to the virtual platform. However, this platform has allowed us the opportunity to reach even more people in surrounding counties and throughout the entire state of Texas. So we are reaching and indeed reaching more people than we had intended before. But with as much information as we do get out to people, it kind of evolves into another thing, into another thing, and then into another thing, which brings us to voter registration and voting in the state of Texas, and understanding what that process is, how it actually works, dispel some of the myths as it relates to people being eligible to vote, where do they go, finding your polling location, and how the machines actually work. There's a lot of folks that still kind of get a little bit confused, and really just need to know the information and know that they have the opportunity to exercise their right to vote, and that they are able to do that. So we want to make that as easy and seamless as we possibly can. So um, even myself in trying to coordinate this, trying to determine who does what between the tax assessor collector's office and the county clerk's office, and which department does what. Sometimes you may not know which one of these people are you supposed to actually be contacting when you have a question in regards to your polling place, or if you have a question about registering to vote, what is it that you do, and which one of these folks do you actually call. So we're going to make sure that we get that information to you guys today. So with that being said, there is information that's going to be covered here today. This is your opportunity to ask whatever questions that it is that you have. Do keep in mind that we record the session. We also broadcast live on our social media platform, on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. So we do want to make sure that we try to protect your privacy as best as we possibly can. So we ask that you don't divulge any personal detail or specific information about your personal circumstance as you're asking your question, that you try to keep it as general as possible, because again, we are recording and broadcasting live, and we don't want your personal information kind of getting out there for everybody to have access to. So do keep that in mind. If you are joining us on Zoom, please feel free to type your question into the chat box, or you can unmute yourself at the end of the presentation and ask your questions directly of the presenters. If you are joining us on our social media site, I am monitoring the comment section. So feel free to type your questions into the comment and I'll make sure that the question gets addressed there as well. So, and I know that there were a couple of questions that were emailed to me in advance, and I'll make sure that I get those questions asked and answered as well. So we want to, again, thank you all for joining us. Do know that, again, this session is for informational purposes only or educational purposes only. It is not to be considered any kind of legal advice or anything of that nature. This will not be a political conversation or political debate in any way, shape, or form. This is just to get information out to the community. So do keep that in mind as well. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and we are going to get started. We're going to start with the introductions and then we'll move on into our session. So Ms. Cecile, we'll have you introduce first. Ms. Ashley, you can go next. And then Ms. Pamela, you can introduce and then you can go on into your presentation.
Sure thing. Thank you, Nia. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Cecile Carlson. I'm an outreach coordinator here with the Department of Neighborhoods, and we are one of the partners in the A Month of Service Partnership. I want to just extend a thank you to our presenting partners today. Lots of really important information for you to make your voice heard and make sure that you participate in the process. So thank you so much, and I'll go ahead and pass it on to our presenters.
Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Ashley Lawson. I'm with the Harris County Department of Elections. I am an outreach coordinator. I'm here just to kind of give you the road rules to when you get to the vote center so you know what you need to have and provide you information about dates and times. That's important.
Okay. Ms. Pamela?
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to first say thanks for the opportunity for us to come in and present today. And I'm Pamela Dora Thomas with the Harris County Tax Office, and we're just here to give the basics on voter registration and some additional information. So if you just give me one moment, I can get this presentation up.
Okay. Just a reminder, feel free to type your questions into the chat box, and we'll make sure that your questions get addressed.
All right.
Okay. Good to go.
Can everyone see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right. So again, I am from the Harris County Tax Office, and our elected official is Ms. Annette Ramirez, and she is one of the newly elected officials that came in January. And so who we are and what we do. We have 16 branch locations that are open from Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And the type of services that we do have is vehicle registration. We also have other services, which we deal with hotel and motel alcoholic beverage and coin-operated machines. We also do property tax, which we calculate the property tax rates for the county. And we also collect property taxes for the county and also for city schools and other taxing entities. And we also do voter registration. We register eligible voters. We also have voter outreach, and we also have our volunteer deputy voter registrar program, in which we will get into in just a moment. So as it relates to property tax, real quickly, we maintain approximately 1.9 million tax accounts, and we also collect more than 8.2 billion, that's with a B, in property taxes, and we disperse to 82 taxing jurisdictions, which some of them include Harris County, Houston ISD, Harris County Flood Control District, and also the city of Houston. Now, as it relates to voter registration, currently there's a population of about 5 million that is in Harris County, and we have about 2.6 million individuals that are registered to vote. And a little bit about our qualifications for voter registration. You must be registered to vote in the county in which you reside, be a U.S. citizen, must be at least 17 years and 10 months of old to register. But when you actually walk into a polling location, you have to be at least 18 years of age. You must not be finally convicted of a felony, or if you are a felon, you must have completed all of your punishment, including any term of incarceration, parole, supervision, period of probation, or received a pardon. You must not have been determined by a final jurisdiction of a court exercising probate jurisdiction to be totally or mentally incapacitated without the right to vote. So as far as some of the new laws that are going into effect for voter registration, one of them is going to change a little bit for our voter registration application process, which is the Senate Bill 1862. And this requires a voter registration application to include the address, including the city and county where the applicant formerly resided. So previously, we did not, it wasn't included, the address wasn't included. So if someone is in state or out of state, this information is now required to put on the application. So if the person does not have this information, as far as if they are just lived in the one location, or at the same time, you just put in the previous area where that information is supposed to go. So this is a bill that was kind of a law that went into effect for checks and balances. So it makes sure it effectively cancels out a voter registration status, say in another county or in another state. So here's a draft of what the application will look like. This is the new applications that will be coming out from the Secretary of State, which is going to be required through all 254 counties. And we are in the process of receiving those applications. But if you are a volunteer deputy, or if you have one of the old applications, it is still applicable to use until everyone receives the new applications. Now, as far as voter registration, always check your status. Always check your status, your voter registration status. And you can do that conveniently on our website at hctax.net and look under the voter registration tab. And then you can actually do a voter registration search. You can search by name. You can also search by address. So there's a multitude of ways that you can actually find out the status of your voter registration. Also, you can go on the Secretary of State's website and also do the same thing. But we encourage you to actually tune into your actual county to find out if there's any type of discrepancies that need to be rectified. Also, another way there's various ways that you can register to vote. Of course, you can have your actual application. You can go to one of our 16 branch locations. You can go to a library, because it is required for libraries to also have voter registration applications. And if you are unable to do any of those, you can also go to our website under the voter registration tab and register to vote. But please keep in mind that the state of Texas does not have online voter registration. So what you're doing in this case, you're actually going to the website and you're going to fill out the information. You have to actually print the application, sign it, and then mail it into our office. And here is the upcoming election information. And I'm going to actually let the county clerk's office, they're going to go more in depth when it comes to the ballot by mail. So I'll save that information. But the last day to register to vote and be eligible for the November 4th election is Monday, October the 6th. And if we have any volunteer deputies that are on this particular session, you have until October 7th to turn in the applications. And so for those of you that might want to know, what is a volunteer deputy voter registrar? So this is a civic engagement program that we have in our office. And of course, it's statewide, where you can become a volunteer deputy voter registrar, VDVR. And it requires through the Secretary of State of taking a training. And once you take that training, you are then deputized to go out into the community and register individuals to vote. It's a very unique program that we have, and we offer online trainings as well. We give approximately 9 trainings a week, so it is convenient for everyone's schedule. And those of you that are interested, definitely you can go to our website, and we have a virtual training schedule that is listed. And as you can see, all you do is click the RSVP button and fill out the information. And from there, you will receive a Zoom link to attend the actual training of your choice. So definitely, if you have any questions pertaining to your voter registration status, if you want to actually become a volunteer deputy, and also we do have workshops that we also offer for property tax as well. But if you have any questions regarding your voter registration, we have our main line, which is 713-274-8200. And we also have the various lines in different languages as well, in Spanish, Vietnamese, and Chinese. And even if you have a question that you would like to send to us, you can do that at voters@hctx.net. And also we have our outreach team line for the VDVRs, and also if you are looking forward to any type of civic engagement from our office. I think that that is all the information that we have on our end as it relates to voter registration.
I'm sorry, can you put that screen right back up there one more time? I'm typing the information in the chat so that folks can actually see it. Okay, so the main line for voter registration. Questions? Is that what it is? Okay. At 713-274-8200 or email voters@hctx.net.
Correct.
Okay, all right. I'll just put that in the chat. Go right ahead.
Okay.
All right, that concludes my portion of the presentation, and I'll turn it on over to Miss Ashley.
Thank you. Let me get my screen up. Good afternoon. As I mentioned, my name is Ashley Lawson. I'm with the Harris County Clerk's Office, Department of Election. And so this is a quick agenda. I'm going to just go over basically what the clerk office does, some county electoral data, upcoming elections, and what's on the ballot, and accessibility and the ballot by mail, and how you all can get involved with us. This thing. So the Harris County Clerk's Office does several things. One of the main things is we record personal and financial statements, issue marriage license, assume names, vital statistic records, DD 214s, where we also provide public access to records that you file with the county clerk. We maintain the minutes for the commissioner's court and handle the toll road adjudications. We maintain documents resulting from property, business, and personal civil proceedings. We maintain documents resulting for probate and mental health proceedings. We records of deeds and liens. And one of the things that we do, we also preserve and protect and provide access to historical county government records. And my portion of it is I work in the elections department. I'm sorry, I'm just moving this over so I can see. I work in the elections department. So our department, basically we run the elections. And so currently in Harris County, as Ms. Pamela mentioned, we have approximately 2.6 registered voters. However, in Harris County, there are 3.5 million people eligible to vote. But as of April the 1st of this year, only 2.6 have registered to vote. So when we go out, we do try to encourage, and we partner with the tax office to encourage more people to register to vote, because that's like a 1 million person gap. And we want to make sure that everybody's participating in the electoral process. So this year, the ballot is local. We just want to make sure that everybody knows we do have CD 18, but mainly it's gonna be your council members. And we just want everybody to know, because I know people have conversations with each other about who they're gonna vote for, that our ballot differs based on the address that you're registered to vote. I know in my community, my neighbor across the street has a totally different ballot from me because the lines are kind of drawn differently. So although I might be voting in District D, right across the street, somebody's voting in the district. And so just remember when you're sharing information that your ballot will not be the same as somebody else's. Basically determined by the address in which you are registered to vote. And like I said, it's going to be a lot of local races. And then we have 17 constitutional amendments on this ballot. Last week on September the 16th, we just finished testing all the ballot styles. So you can go on our website and put in your address and get your particular ballot for your address. And we always encourage people to print out those sample ballots and take them in, because in November, I know last November, I had 78 contests on my ballot and I couldn't remember all 78 names. So I printed out my sample ballot and I kind of circled my choices so I could take that piece of paper in the vote center. You can take a piece of paper in the vote center. It just cannot be partisan material. So just remember that as you move forward in future elections. As I mentioned, Congressional District 18 is on the ballot with the passing of Sylvester Turner in March, on March 5th. That left the seat vacant. And so here at the Elections Department, we had to wait for Greg Abbott to let us know when that contest could put on the ballot, because only the governor could authorize that. And so he decided that it will be included on the November 2025 ballot. So you will only see District 18 if you're registered to vote in that district. And as you can see on the presentation, the district is kind of like I don't know what you'll say. Sometimes I say a C or like a little mouse head in the middle, but just make sure that you're watching out for that. I know a lot of people have been talking about redistricting. The special session, we're in the third special session, so everything is not final yet. And so the redistricting maps do not apply to this November election. So you will vote like you've been voting. The redistricting maps won't go into effect until 2026. And even then, we don't know the date because we haven't been given instructions from the governor and when those maps go in effect. So we're encouraging everybody to just vote, as nothing has changed for 2025. And as we get that information, we will definitely push that out to you all. Important dates that we want you to remember this November in this special election is, of course, October 6th is the last day to register to vote. October the 20th is the first day of early voting. Early voting is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. except on Sundays. On Sundays, the polling locations open at 12 and they close at 6. And you have October the 24th is the last day to apply for ballot by mail. And then we have October the 31st, which is the last day of early voting. November the 4th, which is election day, and it's the last day to return your ballot by mail. Let's see. And in Harris County, you can vote one of three ways. The first way is vote in person at a vote center. We encourage people to go to harrisvote.com as your election hub, because you can go in there and you can put your address in wherever you're at. So right now, our building is over here by Bush Continental. I live on the south side of town. So on election day or during the early voting, if I want to vote while I'm at work or on my lunch break, I will put in the way Harris Votes works. I can put in my address to my job and it will bring up a 5 to 10 mile radius of all the vote centers. Because we are countywide voting, that means I can vote anywhere in Harris County. I no longer have to go back to my community and vote. I could just find a location here in the area for me to vote. So I highly encourage you all to use that feature that we have and take advantage of the countywide voting. The other way you can vote is in person via curbside. And that is just basically you going to the vote center. That curbside voting is normally placed, it's a a stand placed in the handicap spot. It has a buzzer. You'll push that buzzer and somebody will come out and bring the machine so you can vote from your car. And then you can vote by mail. You could do a domestic or federally. Most of the federal vote by mail applications goes to military, people serving in the military. They're able to vote using the federal postcard application. So we always want to remind people when they go to the vote center to make sure you bring, because Texas is a voter ID state, make sure you bring an acceptable form of ID. The 7 forms of acceptable form of ID is the Texas driver's license, your Texas handgun license, your Texas personal identification card, your U.S. citizenship certificate with a photo, your U.S. military ID with a photo, your Texas election ID certificate. I always tell people, because they ask me where you get it from, you just go to DPS where you get your driver's license, your ID card, and you request a Texas election ID certificate, and you can get one of those. And you could also use your U.S. passport book or card as a form of identification. If you are not able to acquire any of the 7 forms of ID due to the hardship, we do have a reasonable impediment declaration where you let us know, hey, I didn't have the transportation, my work schedule or illness prevented me from getting one of the 7 forms of ID prior to the election. If you're registered to vote, you still are able to vote. You just need to let us know your reasoning for not being able to vote. Like I said, if it's because you didn't have transportation or you have a financial hardship, you will let us know. And what happens is, as long as you're registered to vote and you're in the system, if you provide a copy of original government check, your voter registration certificate, your certified birth certificate, original copy of a bank statement, a copy of a current bill utility, or a paycheck stub, you will be able to vote. You will need to have those. Of course, with that comes some additional things. You will have to cure your ballot. They're going to give you, once you leave there, you attest and say, hey, you're signing an affidavit saying that you could not reasonably obtain one of the 7 forms of ID, and this is what you brought, and you do a swear-in, and then they give you some instructions, and you have to complete those instructions within 6 days. It's called curing your ballot. If you do not complete those instructions in 6 days, once you do the ballot, you'll vote on a provisional ballot. They'll put your ballot in a separate ballot bag, and we'll wait for you to get it. If not, your ballot will not be counted if you don't follow the steps to cure your ballot. So make sure that you're not only voting if you didn't have an ID, or sometimes people do vote provisional because they forgot their ID at home. Make sure that you follow those steps within the 6 days allowed it so your ballot can be counted. So accessibility features and voting by mail. When you vote in person, we do have some voter accommodations. As I mentioned, we have the curbside voting. We also have something called voting order priority for voters with limited mobility. That is a law. If you're standing in line and you're in crutches, you're pregnant, you're on an oxygen tank, you have a cane, and the line is a long line, you can utilize the voter order priority for voting. And basically what that means is that you will get the attention of a clerk or a poll worker, and you'll let them know you're struggling and you have you can't stand for a long time, and they will basically put you to the front of the line and allow you to vote. And if you want your caregiver or the person that's with you, they'll ask you, and that person could also go to the front of the line and vote as well. Just make sure that you're letting them know that you have limited mobility issues, or you cannot stand in line for the wait time that's allowed it, and they will move you to the front. We also have a audio tactile interface, which is like a little remote control. It has braille and audio, and it has a headphone, so it reads the ballot to you. So if you have low visibility and you're using one of our machines, we will take you to a machine that has that remote control, and it allows you to go over the ballot. It will read the ballot out loud for you. and you have the option to select, and it also has Braille on it. And then if you speak a different language, we do have virtual interpretation on demand. We always let people know that the wait times vary because we do have over 600 polling locations on election day. And so our interpreters are called by Zoom, and depending on how many people are using the service, your wait could be from 1 minute to an hour. So just please bear with us because we are servicing a large part of the county. So voting in person, as I mentioned, any voter who needs language assistance just should let our election worker know. Time will vary. And if you need assistance, like if you need some help at the voting machine, you could either get one of the clerks at the vote center to help you, or you could have a family member. We just want to remind you that the person that's assisting you at the voting booth cannot be your employer, an agent of the voter's employer, or an officer or agent of a labor union in which the voter belongs. And also, the person that's assisting you must take an oath. They must swear that they're just helping you navigate the machine and they're not influencing you or forcing you to vote for who they want you to vote for. So, voting by mail. Every year, starting in January, every January, there's you get applied to vote by mail. Vote by mail is not an automatic process. It is an application. You do have to qualify to be able to vote by mail. The qualifications are you must be 65 and older on election day. You're sick or disabled. You're expected to give birth within 3 weeks before or after election day. You'll be out the county on election day and during early voting. A lot of people kind of get this confused. And so an example of that is early voting starts on October the 20th. If I decide to leave the country on October the 21st and I don't come back into November 3rd, I do not qualify vote for ballot by mail because I'll arrive on November 3rd and the election is on November the 4th. So that gives me I still have the opportunity to go in and vote in person. However, if I come back on October the 9th, I leave on October the 21st and come back on October the 9th, I do qualify to vote by mail. So make sure that if you do apply to vote by mail, that you're going to be out of county for both before election day, during early voting, and on election day. Because if you fill out the application and your dates are off by a date, they will deny your application. The other way you can vote by mail is if you're confined in jail or have an involuntary civil commitment, but otherwise eligible to vote. And so basically that means if I leave the office today and unknowns to me, I have a warrant or something, and I leave out and the police pull me over and take me to jail, but I don't get to see the judge until December the 9th, I am eligible to vote by mail because I have not been convicted. I have been arrested and I have been charged with something, but I am sitting in the jail waiting to be charged and convicted of something. And since that hasn't happened, I'm still able to vote. So I could apply to vote by mail and they will send my ballot. If I'm downtown in county, they will send my ballot there. And if you meet all of the criterias, they'll send you the application. When you send the application back, they'll let you know and they'll mail the ballot to you. Important notes about ballot by mail in Harris County and just anything right now with elections. We don't process the applications electronically, so you will need to print out the ballot by mail, and it's on harrisvotes.com, or you could call us at 713-755-6965, and I'll give that number again towards the end. And you could call us and we'll mail an application for you if you don't have a way to print. But one of the things I want to point out to avoid delay for your ballot by mail application is we want to make sure when you're filling out the application in the first box that you make sure that you include your Texas driver's license and the last four of your social. And the reason why we say this is because some people, like I registered to vote when I was 18. I'm in my 40s now. I do not remember which number I used to register to vote, because when you're registering to vote, you can either use your driver's license, your Texas driver's license, or the last four of your social. And since I don't remember that number, if I apply for ballot by mail and I use my social security and I did not use my driver's license or ID number, what it end up happening if I just put my last four of my social security number, they will reject my application for ballot by mail, because the systems do not connect our social last four of our social with our driver's license. It's not going to recognize that I'm the same person, even though I didn't I registered with my last four. So I just highly encourage everybody, so your application is not delayed, that you put both numbers. Also, another thing that I would highly encourage for individuals, if you meet that qualification, especially the 65 and up, is you have an option to select the annual application. And so basically it means when January comes, 2026 comes, we're going to have a lot of elections next year. If you know that you probably won't be able to make it all, you could apply for an annual application. And basically what that means is every election that happens January through December of 2026, you will get a ballot mailed to you. You wouldn't have to reapply once you apply in January and you get approved. So, and it'll send everything to you. And it also asks you, do you want to participate in the primaries, which we know next year, the primaries are happening. So you'll check which party or primary party you want to run in, vote in. And also, we also encourage people to check any resulting runoffs, just because we know when there are a lot of people on the ballot, if it's more than 5 people in the ballot, it's highly unlikely that somebody's going to get 50% plus one of the vote. So there will be a runoff. And if you don't check that off when you first apply, if that primary has a runoff, you're going to either have to do another application or you're going to have to come in person and vote. So we always encourage people to do that. If you don't want an annual ballot and you don't want the county to send you an application, a ballot for each election in that year, you can select which elections you want to do ballot by mail. So you can select if you just want to do the November election or the May election, if you want to do the special election, and which primary, if you want to do it. You don't have to do all the ballots. You could select whichever ones you want. And this is mostly for people who know that if you work overseas, that know the first half of the year, you're going to be overseas, and the second half of the year, you might be back in the States. So if that applies to you, I highly encourage you to do it. We want you here at Harris County Department of Elections to make a plan to vote. And basically what that means to us is, think of Harris County Votes as your election hub. If you want to know anything, all the updates, what's going on at vote centers, anything that's going on election, we want you to go to harrisvotes.com. That's where you get, like I mentioned earlier, you can find your closest polling location, because we do provide Harris County, countywide voting. Also, when you go on Harris Votes and you put in that address to find a vote center near you, it will provide you with the wait time. So if it's a 5-minute wait or a 10-minute wait, you will see that on that next to that vote center information. Here you can print out your sample ballots. You go in there, you put in your address, and you print out your sample ballot. You could track your mail ballot. And also, starting in October the 20th, when we start elections, you can live stream us. So our warehouse where we're keeping the ballots in the machines, you can see the Secretary of State requires us to live stream everything we do regarding to elections. So if you're ever curious of what happens behind the scenes, you can go to harrisvotes.com and you could actually see what we're doing from election day on, I think until December the 9th, when we're like certifying the votes and counting the votes. So I highly encourage you, if you ever want to know what happens behind the scenes, go to our website, starting on election day, early voting, and you'll be able to see that. And as I mentioned, next year, there's always another election. We have midterms coming up. So we will have the primaries in March. The first day of early voting will be February the 17th. So if you're in District 18, I've been telling people, please don't get voter fatigue because you will be voting in November, this November, and then we're planning for a runoff in December. CD 18, their runoff will be in January. And then in February, February 17th starts early voting for the primaries, and then you vote in March. Then you have May 2020 primary runoff, and then you have the November 2026 general election, and then you have the December runoff election. So we don't want you to get voter fatigue. What we want you to do is go to harrisvote.com, make a plan, and kind of plan out what those elections look like and be prepared. So how can you get involved in the sisters? So you can become an election worker on November the 4th. We do hire people to work elections. For this particular role, the election judges are nominated by political parties, and their political parties then hire the clerks who staff the vote centers. So we put out the information, both parties, the Democratic and Republican Party, they are the ones that's working. They staff the vote center. We create those judges do not have enough people to staff their vote center. They do go into this pool and they pull out individuals who apply. And so here's the flyer, but if you go to harrisvotes.com, it's on our website. That's a full day. We also, if you want to see behind the scenes, we have election night support staff. It pays $17 an hour. You must be 18 and older on election day. You must be a U.S. citizen. You must complete a paid training and then show up to work to receive the full training payment for working as election night support staff. This role starts at 5 p.m. on November the 4th, and it ends at, we say midnight, sometimes 1 o'clock in the morning. It just depends on how long it takes for all those vote centers to get the equipment back. And so as you see in this picture, basically what happens is on the night of election, the polls close at 7 p.m. The judges then have to bring the equipment back to headquarters. And that equipment includes the duo machines, the stands, and the ballot bags and the live ballots, all the live ballots. So they bring them back and that's how we start the tabulation process. So on that night, we hire high school students, and high school students unload the vehicles and they put it on the cart and they take it inside. What we need the 18 and up individuals to do is to oversee the high school students. All the equipment has to be sealed, tagged, and it's certain equipment that they need to bring back. So as the election night support staff, you'll just oversee the high school students and making sure that all the items that was needed is returned. And so, like I mentioned, starts at 5 p.m., ends midnight, maybe 1 a.m., but you get paid $17 an hour. If you have high school students, we have a student runner program. They also get paid $17 an hour. As I mentioned earlier, they're the ones, they must be 16 and older on election day, and they must be in high school, and they must be a citizen. And they also have to do the 1 hour training and then show up to get paid for the training and the work at the rally site. And they must have permission for their guardians. This role also starts at 5 p.m. The only difference between this role and the election support night staff is that it ends at 11:59 because the high school students have a curfew. So we cannot keep them on site longer past midnight. So at 11:59, they have to be off site, but they get paid $17 an hour. They're unloading the vehicle and they're taking all the equipment inside the facility to start the tabulation process. If you want the latest information and updates, like I mentioned on election, harrisvotes.com is your website. I encourage you to follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram. And we also have a mailing list where we have community meetings. The community meetings go into more detail about what's on the ballot, the roles and the roles that's on the ballot. So if you're interested, I highly encourage you to go to harrisvotes.com and follow us online, and I think Is that it? Yeah. And if you have any questions or want us to come out to do a voter education workshop, bring out the demo machine so people get practice on it, give us a call at 713-755-6965, and we'll be more than happy to come out. That's it for me.
Okay. So for the flyers that you just shared about the hiring and everything, could you send me an electronic copy of those? I'll be more than happy to share that and send that out to folks that may be interested in those opportunities to be the poll workers and things too.
Yes, I am. I'll send it to you shortly.
Okay, cool. All right, so the information that was just covered will be emailed out or in this recording to everyone, along with uh, any references or resources and all the links that I put into the chat. Those will be included as well. So if you guys that are on the call right now, if you have any questions, please feel free to type it in the chat or unmute yourself. I did have a couple of questions. You already covered a couple of the ones that were emailed to me in advance, but the how does the mail-in ballots work for like college students, like that are still technically legal residents of the state, but then they leave to go out of state to go to school? How do they vote when they're away at school?
So they will fill out a ballot by mail. They'll qualify, long as they say that long as they're not back in Harris County. I know when my daughter went to Southern, before she left, she filled out a ballot by mail application. And so she had her ballot. She had them mail it to her dorm room.
Oh,
And so they'll mail it to your dorm address, whatever address that you're given when you move in, they move in on campus. When you're filling out the ballot by mail, it's asking you for the other address, and you just give the explanation that you're away for college. So that's if the child decide or the college student decides to stay, still vote in Harris County. We do have some that choose to vote where they are, but if you still want to vote in Harris County, you can still vote in Harris County. You'll check the option that you'll be out of the county, and it's going to be because you're registered in school, and this is the address where they can see your ballot to.
gotcha. And what's the deadline to do that again? The mail ballot?
October the 25th.
Yeah, October 25th. Okay. So it needs to be postmarked by then or back like received by you guys by then?
Postmark. We want it postmarked. Some people try to drop it in the mailbox the day on the 25th, but what ends up happening is sometimes those mail carriers don't get it postmarked, and so it's considered late.
Gotcha. Okay. And then for folks that I had heard, and I'm not sure how, I don't want to listen to the street committee out there as I'm asking this question, because folks get, well, this is what you're supposed to do, and that's not really valid. Employers, on the day that on election day, is it true that employers can't penalize you for going to vote, or are supposed to allot you certain amount of time if the schedule permits for you to get to a polling location or to be able to vote? Is that true?
Well, some employers do allow that time. I would just highly encourage everybody to look into their policy. I know working here at the county and when I worked at the city, they did allow us a certain amount of time, but we had to talk to our manager and they made the accommodations for us. So I would highly encourage, because each company and organization has a different requirement. I would highly encourage everybody just to make sure that you're getting in contact with your HR person and seeing what the allowed time is, because I've heard like a wide range of like each organization has a different rule regarding it.
Oh, so it's based on individual.
Organization.
It's not
Yes.
a law or anything like that they're supposed to
Yeah. It's
allow.
individual. And I know, because I know with some like I think it's Cypher and Klein ISD, they let the students. So this is just based off of my knowledge because I go to high schools. They let their high school students they're off on election day, and it's mainly so they could be a student clerk and work at our vote centers on election day. But it just depends on the organization and their policies.
Do they still use the schools as polling locations, as voting locations? Because I know
Yes.
remember my
Yes,
daughter's
ma'am.
was okay.
It's mostly elementary schools. Some
Yeah.
of the high schools pick up, but yes, they still use the schools as polling locations.
Okay. Now, when somebody gets to a polling location and there's a discrepancy, so of as to where you're supposed to be able to vote, like they say, oh, where your polling location has been moved to here versus there, or what have you. How does somebody rectify that, or who do they call to get that straightened, or to make sure that it is actually accurate?
So they'll call us at the 713-755-6965 number. However, since it's countywide voting in Harris County, they could go anywhere. The only way, like if they were telling you to go to another, if they were telling you to go to another polling location, it's most likely because you're in a different county. I know earlier this week, I was told by somebody that they were told to go to another location. And so and that was because they were in Fort Bend. They were in Fort Bend County and they tried to vote in Harris County. And the way I'm going to explain it, so if you're in Fort Bend County and you try to vote in Harris County, there is a law that says that you can vote in Harris County on a limited ballot. But when you're voting in Harris County on a limited ballot, you cannot vote at any vote center. You have to go down to our Preston location downtown to vote on that limited ballot. And if they're telling you to go back to Fort Bend to vote, um, and this is just me, they're probably telling you that because it's not a federal election and it's more local races on there. And if you vote for a limited ballot, it's only going to put what's federal on your ballot. It's not going to put your the
Local
Fort Bend
election.
local races. So they're just trying to, I mean, one lady was like, well, if I don't want to vote, and I was like, they're just trying to make sure that you're able to access everything on your ballot instead of giving you a limited ballot. So they're sending you back to your county to ensure that you're able to vote.
Okay, so that I think that does answer my question, because I've seen it before where somebody's property is like right on the boundaries and they pay taxes to both Harris County and Fort Bend County. So technically they're both residents.
Yes.
So okay, so that would explain that. Now, if why did I just completely would blank all of a sudden? Oh my goodness. Uh Oh my gosh, why did I just go blank all of a sudden? Goodness, goodness, goodness. Okay, I know I'm going to get back to it. Polling location question. If somebody does have a question about the polling location, you shout it out a number. I just want to make sure that I have the correct one in the chat. Can you repeat that number?
It's 713-755-6965. So that's the right one in the chat.
Oh, that's what I've got
Yeah,
in
it's
there.
the same one. Yeah.
Okay. All right. 6965. Yeah.
And I highly encourage, and most of the time when what we see is when people are sometimes our polling locations, like if somebody comes and they're telling you just to go somewhere else and they're not kind of breaking it down like I'm breaking it down, is normally because if it's on election day, they probably have a line. It's a lot of moving parts. That's why I highly encourage people on if you can go vote during early voting. It's usually a slower time. And if something happens, or if like because I know last November, if you haven't, so as we all know, if you guys don't know, the voting registration poll roster is purged like every year or whatever. And so if you show up and they're like, oh, you're not registered to vote, that's 9 times out of 10, like if you moved and you didn't respond, they purge you from the list. Like if you change your address and you didn't change your address with the voter register, and so you showed up and you haven't voted in 4 to 5 years, and you showed up in this election and you didn't make a change, and you was like, I registered to vote 7 years ago, and you go up to the polling location and they don't find you in there and it's off the road. And that's one of the reasons why we kind of tell people like, hey, check your voter registration status before you go to the vote center. Try to do early voting, because you could kind of catch those mistakes and do the correction. Because if the postcard came to your address and it's because you moved, you could do a statement of residence and change your address, and do a sworn statement. But trying to do it sometimes on election day, sometimes it's too late. So highly encourage people to check their voter registration status prior to election. And if you're unsure about anything, take advantage of that early voting time, because if anything happens in between that time, you have enough time to correct whatever you need to correct. But you can't register to vote after October the 6th. But if it's any other things, whether it's an ID issue or something like that, you could kind of work on that.
Gotcha. Okay. Now remember what it was that I had the question about. With what is it that people need to look out for when they are registering to vote at a lot of these different sites? Because I know that that there's this mass reach to try to get people registered to vote before the deadline. But what is it that somebody should know when they're giving their information, or they think that they're registering to vote? What do they need to see?
So there are a lot of sites that will just have links coming back to that particular voter registration for the county. And so that's what you really want to look for. You want to make sure that you go to the actual county information. You go through the nationwide, a lot of times they'll just add the link to the specific county.
No. I meant like in person, how people set up with like tables and things like, register to vote here kind of thing. What do they need to see or to make sure that this is a person that actually works for the voter registrar's office?
Okay, and so that goes back to volunteer deputy voter registrar. So one of the stipulations that a VDVR should have their credentials with them at every single voter registration drive that they may be a part of. And it is a small ID, which has their name and their what we call a VDVR number, which is a unique number that is assigned to each and every VDVR. So they are supposed to show that their credentials to show that they are actual people that are registering you to vote. So a VDVR, once you fill out that application, the VDVR is responsible for receiving that application and then bringing it to one of our 16 branch locations. So that's an option. And then if they give you what you call a short form, that's the form, the voter registration application that you see at your libraries, at all the different locations, which is the mail-in. So they're not supposed to take that one. If they give you that, then the applicant is supposed to fill it out and then mail it in themselves. So make sure if you are going to register through someone that they have those credentials on them.
Okay, and if they have the short form, they have to mail it themselves.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay, that was very helpful. And again, I don't see any other questions or anything in the chat. Are there any other questions from any of the participants that are joining us here? I don't see anything on our social media page either. Well, I think that's about it. Well, that being said, thank you everybody for joining us this afternoon. Definitely want to give a thank you to Miss Pamela and to Miss Ashley and to Miss Sue for joining us this afternoon and providing the public with this information. This is quite helpful. I've taken quite a few notes here as I was writing stuff down. So my daughter is out of town right now at school, so I needed to make sure she had all her information to make sure she voted for this election. So thank y'all very much. Really appreciate that. Are any last minute words or any information that you guys would like to also include? Thank you, Miss Kathy. No, that's about it. Okay, all right. The contact information for the county tax office as well as the elections department and the links to those various sites that they reference will be included in the email that I send out to everyone. So if you have any additional questions or anything, then please feel free to reach out to both the offices of the presenters here. For more information. And again, we want to thank you guys very much for taking the time out this afternoon. We really appreciate it. If there are any workshops that we don't currently offer or any information that the community needs, please provide us with that feedback. This allows us the opportunity to plan so that we can get more information out to you guys as you need it or as you request it. Again, thank you guys for taking the time out this afternoon. We really, really do appreciate it. So you guys can watch the recording that I send out, or you can watch on our YouTube channel. I will send you out a link for the YouTube page to watch this presentation. We do ask that you pay it forward and forward it along to as many people that you know of that may find the information to be beneficial as well. If they have questions, if there is still time for them to register to vote. The deadline you said is for mail-in ballots is for October the 25th. And then the October, what was the October 16th?
So October the 6th is the last day to register to vote
October the
for
6th
this upcoming November election.
for the upcoming November election. October the 6th is the last day to register to vote. So get out there, exercise your right. We want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to vote. All right. You guys have a wonderful remainder of your afternoon. You all take care of yourselves. You stay safe, and we will see y'all next time. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.